today on this video, we're going to highlight someone that is wicked in hopes to help make this country a better and safer place. Christy, we stand against people that hurt innocent women and children, and we are going to start highlighting certain stories in order to bring exposure to certain situations, events, and cases. Christy, who is Danny Masterson?
Nino, he is a monster. He was an actor that played in the 70s show, and just recent, well, in September, was convicted of R-ing, and we have to be careful with our words here,
Okay.
2 women, but from 2003, Nino.
Hold on, sis. 2003. We are in 2024, and what we found out, y'all, is this thing has basically been covered up, right, sis? For lack of better words.
Oh, massive cover up. And there was a third count of R, but it resulted in a hung jury, so he couldn't be convicted on that. But you're talking about 20 years before any justice was brought to these victims.
In 20 years, Christy, I guess there's not a statute of limitations for that, I'd imagine. But
all I know is that in certain states there are statute of limitations. In other states there's not. But if these women had started the legal process and there was interference along the way, and there was, when I say interference, I mean massive interference, and we'll get into that, then I guess there's probably no statute of limitations. It used to be that there was no statute of limitations on any crime against children, but states have started changing that after a certain age, or after a certain amount of time, that there's a statute of limitations now, which I think is disgusting.
Okay.
Because yeah.
And Zoe Baby says Scientology covered it up.
That's exactly what we were getting into.
So let's go ahead and delve into this, y'all. This is our first segment on something like this, besides, the regular exposing of people like SPM, people that commit crimes against women and children. Again, Christy, sorry for the long-winded intro in the segue, but Christy, who is Danny Masterson? Continue, sis.
So, like I said, he's an actor. He is a Scientologist, which says enough. He's currently an inmate. But the Church of Scientology, Nino, got so involved that they attempted to silence the victims. And because of that interference, it resulted in a 20-year delay in bringing any crimes against him. So there is a civil lawsuit out where they are asking that the Church of Scientology be charged with the RICO Act.
What?
That they have been involved in so many things that have interfered with convictions and trying to cover up what they've done, that they are considered mobs. That it's been considered like the current day mob.
Melanie says huge interference, and his buddy Kutcher helped him, in my opinion, along with that church. We're going to touch on that, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody jumping on. We are uncovering a monster, Danny Masterson, our first in this segment of the segments that we're going to be doing, to expose these people. And some people are elite, but continue, Christy.
Yeah, so he was sentenced to 30 years to life. It was 3 felony counts of the R word. Well, no, the criminal charge was 3 felony counts of R, but he was only convicted on 2 of those. The other one was a hung jury, as I said. I think it was 12 days after he was convicted, his wife filed for divorce. And yeah, it's just like this went on for so long with no justice for these victims, and we see it so much that that's what happens.
It's a sad situation, y'all. And the way we the way we do for the victims, y'all, it's like I said about SPM, another pervert. These victims have a life sentence. And this is a near and dear subject close to my heart, because I just got to say this is I'm a father. Somebody in my family was. I'll leave it at that. And to those who say they don't care or whatever, I hope to God it don't happen to anyone in your immediate circle, because when this kind of stuff happens, sis, this tragedy by these monsters, by these predators, it rocks the whole family. Families get torn apart, and I've experienced it basically firsthand. So this does mean a lot to me, because it's a sad situation when this occurs. It's horrible, sis. But go ahead.
And just to give my backstory on it is, I've spoke on it before, that I worked with little girls that had been severely taken advantage of, and from the ages, and they were the ages 6 to 12. We provided intensive therapy and things for them, trying to get them to to normal functioning. I mean, what it does is it robs childhoods, it robs lives, it does all of that. But so in March 2017 is when the 3 women filed the SA allegations against him. That's what kind of started the investigation, but Netflix ended up firing him. Saying that that they couldn't stand with anybody that had those kind of charges pending and stuff like that. But it just is sad, and for the entertainers that stood up for him, it's what we see just all the time: victim shaming. Like, the victims have no voices, and when they do try to have a voice, Juanita Broderick. I mean, all these people that have been ridiculed, called liars, called all these things. It's just amazing to me, and I'll always stand up for the victim.
Totally agree. And if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, this all goes together with the Hollywood elite, the people in the entertainment industry. Someone just mentioned, Drake and Kendrick Lamar. All this stuff, I believe, is connected, because once you start figuring out whose lawyers are connected to who, and entertainment lawyers and publicists, I mean, from the top to bottom, sis, let's be honest, I think it's all just a wicked system and corporation, to say the least. And of all things, I mean, there's even Disney. So it's not like there's anything sacred anymore. You would think, these companies would do the best for their actors and the people that they put out there. But man, not only do they, shame the victim, they even help cover a lot of this stuff up, y'all. And it ain't right. And I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to say this. I have a platform, and I can talk about whatever I want to talk about, y'all. But like I said, when this stuff hits close to home, it changes everything. And I feel like the victims should be represented in a certain way with utmost respect. And like I said, they serve a life sentence, y'all. Let's not downplay that whatsoever. People get hurt, and then the worst part, these monsters, get covered for what they do. Go ahead, sis.
Absolutely. And so, it says that each of the 4 plaintiffs had been members of the Church of Scientology. And one of Scientology's biggest rules is it absolutely forbids its members to report each other to the police for any reason.
That's a problem.
So,
wow.
Oh, you think
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's cultish behavior, and unfortunately, that words came out of my mouth a lot the last couple of days. When people that are part of huge groups make such rules for you that infringe on human rights, and who you're allowed to have contact with, what you're allowed to do, we have laws of this land for a reason. We have freedom of speech in this land for a reason.
Yep.
But it started in early 2017 with Leah Remini. She had filmed a 2-hour episode,
I
Leah
remember
that came
that.
out against all the
Yes.
Scientology and all of that. And it focused on the SA allegations against Masterson with interviews from multiple accusers. Whenever they planned to air that during season 2, whenever she, her special, the Los Angeles County District's Attorney Office asked A&E not to air the episode
Wow.
until the office had concluded all investigations and decided whether to charge him or not. After waiting a year and a half, A&E was like, you know what? We're airing it. So they decided to air it. But as soon as they announced it, A&E and Disney were bombarded with a campaign of attack letters from Scientologists that said, then it came with them interfering so much that there was nothing done. There was no conviction, like we said, until 2023. But these all happened back in 2003.
Wow. And like you said earlier, they got a RICO Act coming their way, right?
Yeah. So, let me find that, just so I don't misquote anything on it. But there is a civil lawsuit out, and it specifically said that they are, they said that Scientology is a criminal enterprise and that it has very mob-like tendencies.
Wow.
And they amended their lawsuit to include racketeering, because of the Scientology group, who's led by boss David Miscavige or something like this. How you say his name?
That's a character. That's a character we need to look into next.
Absolutely. But says that it uses ill-gotten monies to garner influence that protects abusers, people that have been taken advantage of, and intimidates anybody that speaks out against Scientology. So one of the accusers, her dog unexpectedly was unalived with major trachea and esophagus damage. Another one of the accusers said that Scientologists followed her and her for miles and miles and miles. Anytime that she would make a stop anywhere, like at a store or anything, that they would harass her. And the thing that I want to say about that is that goes along with the entertainers that stood up for him. I mean, we know, Tom Cruise is a huge Scientologist.
I was fixing to say that. Yeah, Tom Cruise, he's one of them.
Yeah. What I found out about Ashton Kutcher absolutely just made my stomach turn. So he, in November of 23, he went on a month-long, I guess, kind of like hiatus where he wasn't speaking to the media or anything. Excuse me. He resigned from his anti-SA organization called Thorn.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And I remember, sis, we reported on him and Mia too. I think they received backlash for supporting this dude. And real quick, let me interject. Melanie says Miscavige's wife, I guess the leader of Scientology, has been missing supposedly for years with no investigation. Okay, thank you for that. We're going to look into that too. Go ahead, sis. Sorry.
Yeah, so the name of the organization was called Thorn, like a thorn on a rose. And he resigned in September after writing a letter of support for his former That 70s Show co-star Danny Masterson.
He wrote a letter in support of the guy?
Yes.
Oh. Wow.
Yes. Many people just stood up for the man. And, my biggest thing is whenever I found out that Scientology absolutely forbids you to report anything to the police, you already know something major is going on.
Sis, in chat, everybody, what would drive anybody to write a letter in support of someone with these accusations and convictions? I mean, you are the company you keep, let's be honest, but I wouldn't care if it was my blood brother. If somebody I knew did something like this, I don't know about you, Christy. Well, I know how you are, but I'm just saying I would never put my name in recommendation to someone like this.
Never. And you know what? The thing is it even gets deeper because he was in a maximum security facility. And from what if I remember correctly, and I hope I am not misquoting, I think that he was sent to, I think it was called Corcoran or Corcoran State Prison.
Corcoran.
And that's where they held Charles Manson.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. We got some good comments over here, but go ahead, sis.
But so because of there was supposedly an attack in there or something like that. Yes. And they feared he had to be housed in like the same area that Charles Manson was, because, you know, they like Charles Manson was put up on this as like an idol to people. Yeah. But other people wanted to get at him also. But because of the security scare for Danny, they ended up moving him to a minimum security facility. And I can't remember what it's called right off the top of my head. Yeah, it's California Men's Colony. And yeah, he'll be there 30 years to life. I hope it's life.
Someone commented that the Catholic Church does the same. I've heard that. And someone else commented, I think Jessica said that even the Jehovah's Witnesses are in a similar vein as Scientology. This is not right, y'all. To be covered up by your religious organization, what the hell is wrong with these people? It's disgusting. Sis, so he gets convicted in what year?
2023. Last year he was convicted.
For a crime that happened in 2003, correct?
Correct.
How many victims?
So this is where like things there were 4 charges, but there were 4 charges, but there were 3 accusers that came forward. He was convicted on 2 felony counts of R. The third one was a hung jury, so he was not convicted on that. But it said, yeah, and it just talks about that the Scientologist was reportedly placed in like a level 4 housing unit, where it's supposed to be the most secure place available at any prison. And I guess they still were able to get at him, and that's the reason he was moved to minimum security, so that the maximum security inmates couldn't get at him anymore.
Well, that's the one thing about prisoners. Sometimes they take justice into their own hands, and I can't sit there and say that I fault them for that. But again, ladies and gentlemen, Danny Masterson, I didn't even really know about this case. This is our first, video we're gonna do on these types of people. We're gonna dig into other cases that are similar, and just highlight this stuff. Christy was even talking about R. Kelly, and there's a lot of go ahead, sis.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we really haven't delved into everything that he has done, and that is going to be something in itself with all of the things, the crimes against children with him. But, this man, because of his actions, caused permanent and like trauma to these people. His marriage ended because of this. And it kind of goes along with what we talked about, Nino, that these people feel untouchable. They get people like Scientology behind them, or these huge music groups or entertainment, and they feel untouchable, like they can do anything. And yeah, it's just something else.
And there he is. I'm pulling up his Instagram page for 500,000 followers, and he got a blue check mark. So what's kind of crazy is, with the blue check mark, he's sitting in prison for SA crimes that happened over 20 years ago, and he just got busted with some of the most biggest names defending him, and elite organizations, religious ones at that, covering up for the guy.
You know, and Mila Kunis did it also, right alongside, Ashton Kutcher she wrote a letter also.
It really makes me think, sis, like, how many of them have gotten away this long? How many more are out there? Somebody was saying in the comments, even, Cosby, and they had these other names, but this guy got away with it for so long and had a lot of backing in doing so. It's crazy.
In Ashton Kutcher's letter to the judge, it says, "I do not believe he is an ongoing harm to society."
Whoa.
He wrote that letter to the judge right before sentencing.
Christy, talk about the recidivism rate. We highlighted that about with SPM. I think if anybody takes anything away from this probably is a very interesting fact, and it's pretty sad to hear this. But sis, talk about the recidivism rate. Very interesting.
So it's different than SPM, because SPM likes underage children and minors. Recidivism estimates for the R's that for, I don't know how to say it, with what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That do things, what he was convicted of. So the recidivism rate for what he was convicted of is at 14% at the 5-year follow-up, 21% at 10 years, and about 24% at 15 years. So it's not as high as it is for those that go against children, because you're talking about it goes up into you're talking about the 20-year mark, that the recidivism rate for those that have had crimes against children jumps up above 50%. It is lower than that, but it's still 25%. So 1 in 4.
Sis, that's too high, in my opinion.
Way too high. I mean, absolutely too high. But, those against children, it's like 1 in 2. 1 out of 2 people will reoffend. But, yeah, it's so 14% of the 5-year follow-up, and we talk about that. The reason it's so low and it continues to get higher is because usually whenever they're released, they're on supervised release. They're on probation or parole. They have to do check-ins. Then they're still monitored pretty closely after that. But then the more that, time wears away and they're not the focus of stuff, and the more freedom and stuff that they have, it continues to go up and up and up.
And there he is, y'all. He's on IG. I mean, he has an IG page still active. Probably not even shadow banned like the rest of us, but 500,000 followers on the IG. Weird guy.
So
go ahead.
I just want to say this. So for any crime, this is kind of a percentage for any crime of recidivism. Whenever it comes to, I don't know how to say this word either. I'm just saying it. I don't think we'll get in trouble for it. The recidivism rate for sexual, violent, and criminal recidivism are 16% at about the 5-year mark, 26% at the 10 years, and anywhere from 53% to 63% after the 10-year mark. And that's for those 3 crimes that I just listed.
I wonder why the recidivism rate is different when in regards to I would just say younger people. I don't want to even say the other word, but I wonder why, sis. I guess
seared conscience, seared
well,
mind.
I was finna say, are they that twisted and throwed off? And I'm pretty sure any person that does this kind of stuff, y'all, any kind of crimes against innocent women and children, it's a no go. And these people are sick, and this is one of them. And again, my question is, how many more are out there that haven't been caught? That guy from Beetlejuice, they actually played a clip of the new Beetlejuice movie, and I think they're at his funeral, but I forgot his name. But he's a predator too. One of the guys from the first Beetlejuice movie, y'all. He's been in a lot of movies.
From the first one?
Yes, he's like a ginger. If you've seen his face pop up, you will know who I'm talking about, y'all. He's not a name. He's not known by name, but he's known by face. He was in I think what was it? A lot of movies. There's a lot of them. I don't want to misquote him, but he was an offender as well.
There's Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, and they played the married couple on Beetlejuice.
No. It's the other guy. He's has a mustache. Was he on Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Let me see. Jeffrey Jones. That's him. Jeffrey Jones.
Him? What was he charged with?
Let me look.
But that's another one. It's like these Hollywood stars.
It says that he was on Ferris Bueller also.
Yes,
it says in 2010 that he was sentenced to 250 hours of community service for failing to update his data on the offenders registry.
Yeah, he was out there. He was out there, y'all. Just maneuvering. I think he's in Cali. I forgot what state he was in, but not registering. In his like they have to. And I think he's been shunned, but I think he's also been given a couple of roles here and there, y'all. But again, he's a guy from the Beetlejuice movie. I might pull him up in a minute, maybe not. But
I've got it pulled up right here.
Okay, go ahead.
So he was best known for playing the bumbling principal Rooney in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He pled guilty in Los Angeles, and this was in 2010, to a felony charge. No, wait. Hold on. In July 2003, he pled no contest to hiring a 14-year-old boy to pose for explicit photos.
I'm gonna pull him up, sis. What's his name? But also, I think about these predator hunters. The other guy that got busted was a producer, or I forgot what film he was. I forgot which one. It went all over Twitter, and I think even Right Wing Angel shared it.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It just happened. They just caught him on X, or they were streaming. I forgot the guy's name, a big streamer that they, expose these perverts. And I think it's Space Jam director or someone from Space Jam, I believe. But another, elitist.
So I know that a good friend or a homie has started sending me some stuff.
Sis, what's his name? Sis, what's that guy's name before I move on? Sorry.
So the one that we're talking about, yes. Jeffrey Jones from Beetlejuice, that also played in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
This guy's a creep.
Yeah, but or a homie sent me some stuff, but I have to be honest, this is like right whenever I was first like really, really, really sick, and I didn't get to do a lot of research on it, but it's kind of like what you were talking about. It was about this guy that goes out and catches these predators, but he ended up being one himself.
Oh.
Yeah, he made YouTube videos that showed him going out and like, kind of, you think about what was his name? Chris, whatever his name was from Dateline.
Yeah, Chris
something. That would do where, they would do those baits and bring them into the house, and he'd be standing there. But pretty much the same thing. So this guy would do YouTube videos, a huge YouTuber, of catching these predators. But come to find out, not only was he setting them up, but he was one himself.
Chris Hansen is the guy from that show. Dr. Tank. I like this Dr. Tank channel. Says, are you tracking the Kevin Spacey trial currently pending? No, but we will put that on the to-do
We t-
list. Wow.
yeah, we've talked about him before, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, pervert.
Yep.
Another one.
Yep.
Sis, you know what though? What's crazy? I just have a kind of, I don't know, when I see these uh predator hunters, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I don't want to talk bad about them, but it's kind of like what you said, right? Like they chase them, but then some end up being, what they're chasing. I wonder if some of these people are kind of like that. It's just like they go after these people for some weird reason, yet they're guilty of it themselves.
Absolutely. Like to take the focus off of them.
Well, let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen. This should really have you, perk up your antennas, for lack of better words. If anything, we should never trust anyone around our kids or family. I don't even care. I don't even care if it's a family member. Again, in my situation, it was a family member that hurt a family member. So I say that to say this. It don't matter if they're related. It don't matter if they're a churchgoer. It don't matter if they're a multi-millionaire media star, celebrity.
Yep.
We should always protect our loved ones and our families. And if you think about it, that right there is how you would prevent this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that everything's preventable for the most part. If your kids ain't staying at people's houses and just being unattended or whatever, they're gonna grow up with a normal childhood instead of being a victim. Go ahead, sis.
So Kevin Spacey, just to talk about him, there's it's a British TV docuseries because, I think he's originally from London, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
But he was cleared of inappropriate behavior and actions in civil and criminal courts in both the United States and Britain over the last 2 years. But there's a thing coming out called Spacey Unmasked, and it interviews 10 men, all of but one whom are identified by their first names, who allege they were victims of assault by him.
Men?
And yes, and none of the accusers in this new documentary were a part of the recent court proceedings. So all those that he was cleared from these 10 men have now come forward also.
And here he is. Go ahead. Wow.
It says that they gave details of incidents in which he groped, massaged, or inappropriately touched all of them.
What a pervert. And sis, I have on the screen right now, here he is in a tuxedo, more than likely at some high fashion media or celebrity get together / who knows, the Grammys, the I don't know, Oscars, I don't
right,
know,
Oscars,
I'm just
whatever.
Saying,
yeah,
I'm just saying, how many people are sitting there in those elite circles amongst each other that are just like this guy and the other guy and all these guys we've highlighted here? And these are people, y'all, that are high-ranking celebrities, millionaires, people that are put on a pedestal. And we're going to do a video sooner or later on Hollywood on the occultic origins and the significance of, even that name. And many people already know, but I'm just saying, y'all, we want to highlight this kind of stuff because this is pretty crazy to say the least. Because, like I said, how many of these people get away with this stuff? It ain't right.
A lot. I guarantee you a lot do. And whenever you have churches that are absolutely forbidding you, and the thing is that even Leah talked about how brainwashed you become, how with the cult they absolutely make you, they use fear tactics, they use all this until they get you brainwashed enough to believe exactly what they want you to believe, and to say that you can never go to the police for any reason. Like, I'm glad that these 3 women were able to escape Scientology, at least. But yeah, and unfortunately, I know of cults that are happening right now that refuse to allow their members to speak to certain people, to, go live with certain people, to all of those things. So whenever you're part of these big groups, you just need to know who and what you're dealing with.
Totally agree. And we're talking about Danny Masterson. I want to bring up something right now, y'all. I watched this movie and it ended horribly. I thought it was more probably darker. Me and my wife watched it, but my wife said in this movie, she said, "Yeah, it was corny, whatever," but she said there was a lot of truth to this movie. I believe these people in these circles, it's like a spell. They got to put it right in front of your face to put you under. This movie right here, sis, is called Late Night with the Devil. Now, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, about this movie. Because somebody just brought up Bohemian Grove and Ryan Garcia. This movie, without ruining it for my people, it has aspects of that in it, but of course not the same name. But it's basically a recreation of that whole situation is put into this movie.
Yeah.
And like my wife said, she believes this movie, as bad as it ended, whatever, is kind of corny, cringe, but there's some truth in this movie. This movie right here, y'all, I do recommend you watching it. Adults, only, of course. It's a very interesting take into how these shows work, the entertainment industry, and it touches on the occult. And we know, y'all, that this kind of art imitates life. And for them to show parts of the Bohemian Grove, yet it's named different, is very telling, to say the least, sis, especially like someone said about Ryan Garcia highlighting it the other day. That's not a conspiracy. It's in the Redland, forest or whatever in California. It's basically the same thing that this movie was talking about, even in the actual location. These people do certain things, and most of them, I believe, are very rich, and I would even say very elite and prominent in the movie and entertainment industry. But again, Late Night with the Devil, y'all, is a crazy movie with a lot of truth, I think, sprinkled all throughout the movie. Go ahead.
You were just saying Late Night with the Devil, and I think about these poor children that have early mornings with the devil, mid afternoons with the devils, late night with the devils, all of this, and we're going to start uncovering the stuff. Exactly, Nino. Like, we're not going to leave any stone uncovered. It's unfortunately as rough and as tough as it is. It's became a passion of ours to expose this, and yeah, I really don't have words. And then my biggest thing is what I talked about is the victim shaming, like shame on people. Can you imagine what these victims think whenever you have what they consider superstars, writing and saying they don't feel like he's a threat to society anymore? I'm sure they didn't think he was a threat 20 years ago either.
And then think about it, sis. The way they get treated makes others not even want to come forward.
That is the number one reason that most crimes of this kind of nature are not reported, is fear of not being believed, and the way that it can expose the family and the damage that it can cause to the family and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the number one reason that these things are not reported. It's sad. It's really sad. We've become into a society that wants to believe and stand with these kind of people instead of the ones that it's happened to. It's sad. It's really, really sad.
And up on the screen is Danny Masterson with Ashton Kutcher. Going back to the beginning of this video, highlighting him in his case, 20 years to get justice for these victims. And there's, Ashton Kutcher writing letters of recommendation for this pervert.
I mean, no telling what Ashton Kutcher's dealt with in his life either. And I'm just throwing this out there. I am not taking up for him.
Good point.
Absolutely should have never done this. But I mean, Bruce Willis's wife, what was her name? Got with him and married him. What was he, 18 years old or 19 years old? He was super young.
Hold on. What was her name?
I can't think of Bruce Willis's wife's name. My mind went blank when I was trying to think of it.
Is that the one that I posted that went viral, was kissing the little boy?
Yes, that's her. What's her name? Oh my gosh!
Someone's gonna
Help me,
say in the
guys!
chat.
Come on, y'all are killing me.
I forgot her name.
Oh my gosh! They got a daughter named Rumor Willis. Oh my gosh! Why can I not? She played
Demi.
GI
Shout out
Jane. Why can
Cowbunga. Demi Moore.
Demi Moore? Gosh, I can't believe.
There's a video, guys. There's a video I posted on all my socials, and it's Demi Moore at a Hollywood party of all places, kissing a young boy, and the video is very disturbing. Again, I think she was kind of young herself, but I think she was over 18, 20, or I forgot how old she was, making out with a young child. And I think she was even married at the time, y'all. And that's just what we caught on camera. They caught on camera. Like I said, how many things go uncovered?
Okay, so I was wrong about the age. There was 15 years age difference. Ashton was 25 and she was 40. It's still disgusting.
Like I said, I think, like Alex Ponce said, they're all connected, y'all. It's just a very weird situation with these elitists, especially these Hollywood, actors. I always say, y'all, I would never want my kids to be Hollywood stars.
Mm-hmm.
I would never want my daughter to be a TikTok star or none of that, y'all. No, I want none of that for my family. And it's just sad that some of these people seem like they're groomed into this lifestyle, sis, just to be famous and rich, of all things.
I agree. I agree that, and the thing is, Nino, I know firsthand that whenever they start chasing that lifestyle and they get their taste of being around the elite, the drive to want even more becomes even more insatiable, from everything from all these plastic surgeries to selling your soul to get, drive the nicest car and wear the nicest clothes and make sure you're at the nicest restaurants. And unfortunately, it's happened to somebody really close to me. And yeah.
Tony says many towns police involved in providing young girls with older and influential men. That reminds me of Buddy Webb. I have a video. No one else has this interview, y'all. This guy is from my city. His name is Buddy Wayne Webb from Hobbs, New Mexico. We did an interview here in the studio, got over 3,000 views. He claims, and that kind of brings back to the story that we were going to cover about the woman living in a sign. Have that ready, sis, to touch on. But Buddy Webb claims in Midland, Texas, my city, that there was oil field parties in underground $1 million facilities. And before you say it's crazy, he has a lot of documentation for these accusations. And he claims there's underground tunnels and bunkers under the city of Midland, Texas. Now, if you don't know about Midland, Texas, all I'm going to say is this. You want to talk about rich and powerful people? We are the oil mecca of the Permian Basin, maybe the United States, West Texas. We have so much money here, so much crude oil, and a bunch of crime. And I believe we have a high trafficking rate here in my city, in my own backyard in West Texas. We're in between Dallas and El Paso. Not only do we have a drug problem, we have high crime, like I said, and trafficking is prevalent where I live. Better yet, let me ask you this, ladies and gentlemen. What's it look like in your backyard? I think people will be stunned to know, a lot of us do know already, that trafficking humans is big business. But like I said, back to Buddy Webb.
$1 billion industry.
Yes, like Buddy Webb said, though, he claims police help cover up these crimes. He claimed the sheriff had knowings of this, and it's a wild story to say the least. Go ahead, sis.
They said that human trafficking will soon take over as the largest illegal thing that there is, overtaking cartels, overtaking anything. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And I'll tell you, in the order of corruptness, and from what I've seen in my lifetime, it would probably be Hollywood, then Midland.
Thank you. Wow.
I'm being serious. I have never seen so much corruption out of a little town in my
No, you're
entire
right.
life.
My town is hella corrupt. But like I said, with money and oil, it's crime and everything else. I live in a very wicked city, and it gets looked over just because it's an oil town. But if you know anything about oil towns, who's calling me over here?
United States +1 56285 283.
I'm not taking calls, y'all. If we know anything about oil towns, there's a bunch of crime, and a lot of it's covered up due to the fact that the people that are in charge, they like to keep a low profile as far as these cases. They do not report what happens in the city. There's a bunch of illegals here. There's a influx of people from God knows where, and to keep their image clean, they hardly report this stuff. Dan Corrales. Now, Dan Corrales is a man we did videos on. The only council member that was fighting for us said he would never take himself out. Come to find out, he was unalived, and they reported him an accidental sue. You know the rest, I guess, right, sis? Shot to the chest.
Yeah, they said he unalived himself, is what they said. But you cannot make me believe it. It does not make sense. Alex, that's in the chat, and we have talked back and forth on Facebook on your post about it. Not one bit of this makes sense. Number one, he was a veteran. Come on. You think that if he was going to do this, that he wouldn't know how to do this?
But that's a whole other case, y'all, and another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Shout out Dr. Tank says Oprah. There's a lot. There's been so much talk about Oprah. I run Nino America Facebook page. Most of my followers cannot stand Oprah, Tom Hanks, and there's someone else on the tip of my tongue. Oh,
I can't stand
hold on.
The Rock,
Jay-Z, and Beyonce. Really,
Tyler Perry.
Really Beyonce. But Oprah, of all people, right? There's her shady past or dealings is very weird. Her and The Rock both, right? But again, y'all, like I said, these Hollywood elitists, I believe, are somewhat all connected some way down the line. And again, we highlighted this pervert sitting in prison, Danny Masterson. This week we'll highlight someone else. Let us know in the comments if you know anybody else, y'all. We're going to start doing this in hopes to bring awareness and in hopes to expose this wickedness that's going on across the land. The Bible says to do so, to expose it, and that's what we are going to do. Go ahead, sis.
And I was just going to say, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about like these kind of crimes. You know, if you know of unsolved mysteries, of cold case files, of anything that you would like us to like really talk about, that's the kind of stuff that we'd really like to start bringing light to, but definitely exposing these monsters like Danny Masterson. Yeah, and like you said, R. Kelly's next.
People are saying in the comments, Bill Cosby. I don't know. It's weird, y'all. Like I said, if anything, guard your children, guard your heart. And that's the best advice I can give. My kids, I can count on probably one hand how many times they spent the night at anybody's house. Probably not even twice, I would think. My son, really, I don't think even once. I don't trust anybody with my kids. Family especially. That's just how I operate, sis. Final words. Go ahead, Christy.
Nothing. I just wanted to say, you said it perfectly. Like, just protect your kids. We just, was it yesterday or the day before, exposed the priest that is now in prison or in jail, I think, awaiting prison.
In Dallas.
And the thing is that with these types of crimes, it is usually someone that the victim knows
and trusts.
I'm sorry.
And trust.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that they know and that they trust. It's usually a family member, a neighbor. You know, it's just, I watched a thing today on Dr. Phil where a little girl was taken advantage of by her own father from the age of 11 until 25 before she had the guts to come out and say anything. So
Wow.
it happened. Yep, it happens. And
That's
just, the thing is open lines of communication with your kids. Never shut them down. I don't care if I felt like it was the best person in the whole wide world. If my son was to ever come to me and say, "Mom, you better believe I'm believing whatever comes out of my son's mouth if somebody has tried to hurt him."
mm, I'm telling you. And that's probably the saddest thing to hear, right? That a father that is entrusted to protect and even live and die for his family would even do that to his children of all people, sis. That really hit me right there. That's messed up. That's someone that should be trusted. I mean, think about it. If we don't do for our kids, y'all, who's gonna do for them? The state? Hell no.
Oh, because there's story after story that they're part of stuff going on with kids missing and all of that. But Melanie West just made a great comment. She said, "Listen, if your kids say someone makes them feel off, do not force them to hug them, kiss them, lap sit with them, sit beside them,
Thank
any of
you.
those things." And I completely agree.
Oh hell yeah. If my kids were like that, I would second guess myself even hanging around that person. I would not want to
Hmm.
have my kids around anyone that will make them feel uncomfortable whatsoever. And with that, y'all, our first one was uncovering a monster, Danny Masterson, and we'll keep up with the guy. Hopefully he's in his prison cell right now, just shivering away for the crimes he committed. Same thing with SPM and anybody that touches or hurts innocent women and children. Go ahead, sis.
I want to delve deep into Scientology and find out what I can find out about everything that they've kept covered up. And I think that would be a really good, topic and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have a lot of information on that. If anybody wants to get stuff to us.
Yeah, the IG's up there. Christy, producer for Nino on Instagram, Nino America on all platforms, y'all. We thank y'all for this live, for joining us. Again, guard your hearts, and also, equally important, guard your loved ones. Christy, thank you. God bless everybody watching now and on the repeat. And we are out of here.